I'm James Mathers for the Digital Cinema Society. I'm here at the world headquarters of Strada. It's a startup that's being formed by my good friends, the Cioni brothers, Michael Cioni and Peter Cioni. We've worked together on things for many, many years now. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into doing a startup now that the strikes are happening?
Oh, man. Yeah, at the time of this recording, we're still in the middle of that. But we've done startups several times before. And I think both of us have really tried to lean towards the excitement of change in the market. And instead of hunkering down and feeling safe and putting yourself in a safe spot, every time I think we feel like something's going to happen, we run towards the danger to try to figure out what opportunities are there.
Well, I've interviewed Michael more than a few times for Digital Cinema Society, but I think this is your first time on camera with us, Peter.
Yeah.
So I know Michael's all into technology, but you're more on the business side. Can you tell us about your background?
Sure. So I started my career in investment banking in New York, and at the time I was helping Michael remotely with some of his business questions as he ran his previous post house. And in 2008, when the financial crisis was happening in New York, he also reached out to me asking about more help, and at the time he wanted to purchase the post house that he was working at or facilitate a management buyout. So at the time, it was a good time for me to leave my job in New York, relocate to Los Angeles, try to be an entrepreneur. And at the time, my thought was either we try this entrepreneurial thing and it works, or if it doesn't, I have a great learning experience and I'll go to business school and figure out what to do next. But fortunately, our time at creating Light Iron worked really well. And I've always been or enjoyed being on the strategy and business side of things. And what's really exciting working with Michael and others is there's kind of this symbiotic relationship between the artistic side of content creation, there's the business side and the technology side. And when you get all those three pieces together, you can really think of creative ways of solving problems in the industry. So Michael certainly brings that creative and innovative side. I'd like to think I bring the business and strategy side of things, and then we always need that third piece, the technology piece, in order to get to really thinking about comprehensive solutions to the problems we face.
I think I first met you, Peter, must have been 16, 17 years ago. I was finishing up a movie and that I had shot. I was helping them get through post, and it was during another big strike.
It was a writer's strike.
What a challenging time that was, with the strike. You guys made me a sweet deal. It worked out really well. So then you took Light Iron and you allowed an acquisition by Panavision?
That's right. Yeah, with Panavision, we really wanted to find a strategic partner that had a symbiotic relationship and had shared clients. So Panavision caters to cinematographers and ACs, and on the color correction side, we obviously cater to cinematographers. So we really wanted to leverage those relationships, those combined relationships, but also this idea of vertically integrating the service offering. So if a customer is renting cameras, they're probably also going through dailies. They're also going through Final Color. So the idea was we can provide a comprehensive suite of services. And at the time, Light Iron was really US-based. Panavision is a global company. So we really wanted to take advantage of their global footprint as we were trying to expand our service offering.
And that's important, I think I would even say advice for people that are building businesses or production companies or even creative companies, agencies, and storytelling groups. When you're looking for a bigger fish, which a lot of people are, it's important to not look for people that mirror you. And I think we sort of gravitate towards, a perfect acquirer of us is a bigger version of us. That actually isn't always the right strategy, but it seems like it's attractive because it seems obvious. What Pete used the phrase, which is the right phrase, which is a strategic partner. A strategic acquisition may even look confusing to some people. Why would those two work together? But when you think about global brand versus a local brand, well, that's a strategic opportunity for us. Cameras versus post, right? Those are kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. And then a third way to look at it is access to new information. If and I'm not criticizing post houses that buy other post houses. That may be the right decision. But the reason we didn't want to be bought by a bigger post house is all we would be is a smaller fish in a bigger pond, and it would be hard for us to stand out. But Panavision didn't own any other post houses, and Light Iron didn't have any strategic partnerships with camera rental. So now all of a sudden there's opportunity. In fact, some of our employees, which I think is the best celebration of a good acquisition, some of our Light Iron employees ended up working at Panavision. And some Panavision people actually applied and got jobs at Light Iron. That is really a cool opportunity where people are like, you know what, I think there's actually something over here, which would never have occurred to some of these people had that strategic bridge not been established. So I really think, and then for me personally, it got me to be close to Kim Snyder. And so now I had a boss that I could like look up to. Pete got close to a gentleman named Bill Roberts, who was the CFO. And it allowed us to like work with people that were further along and more established and more experienced than us so that we could learn. Because even though I think it's important to be confident in your skills, you also got to know, I don't know everything. And so how can I get access to more? And some people are like, Michael, you're such a know-it-all. It's like, if you know me, I'm constantly second-guessing everything. And I like to be around people who can fill those, gaps and stuff. And so I think we both got better at our jobs by not being in charge. And a lot of people might say, why would you ever want that? Well, try it. It's good, And then the opposite is some people, there's a phrase that says, everyone wants to be in charge until you're in charge. And then you're like, oh, this isn't so great. So, there's yin and yang to it. And now we're both in charge again, consistently looking for bosses and people to acquire us because we feel that a strategic partner is really what we're trying to build this Strada to be. We're building Strada so that it is actually set up to become the right strategic tool for someone else. We haven't met them yet. We don't really have a product in the market that's going to prove that out yet. But we're trying to take what we learned in the past from Panavision, Plaster City, Netflix, Light Iron, and apply it towards, and Frame.io, and apply it towards a new owner.
Well, Panavision was such a storied company, and you guys were sort of like the new kids on the block, rebellious, a disruptor. And Light Iron, you were also doing near set, on set dailies, which they didn't get into at all at Panavision. So that was a good marriage. And I know you've been working on that, getting post-production and the set closer and closer and closer, and that was like a natural thing going to Frame.io.
We met in I think we met in 06, and that's when you got Red 30. Was it 30?
Yeah.
Number 30. Serial number
Actually,
30.
The fifth one that was sold to the
That's
public.
right. This is you're dripping wet at the...
Did you give the $2,000 deposit in any?
Bet, yeah.
Yeah. So you got Red 30. Dino was 31.
Okay.
So the reason this story matters is because Jim's an early adopter of Red technology. And back then, Plaster City, we were adopting that technology from the post-production side. And our friend Ted Shulowitz was helping us sort of figure these worlds out, cinema and post-production, to make this thing work. Today, it's pretty obvious, drag and drop. But 15, 20 years ago, that was like your computer would melt, literally melt. We melted cores of computers processing red footage. That's true, multiple. And so that was just how hard it was back then. But we're like, hey, so what? You melted a core, pull the computer out, render, and get the footage to work. And eventually this will be obvious and easy, which it is today. The point is, when I think people, what I think people miss a lot in the storytelling space is they don't realize that being a master of your craft requires you to be really an expert in technology, and it will totally help you. I can't quote him correctly, I can't remember it exactly, but Robert Rodriguez has an amazing quote about, it's something like, if you leave the technology up to other people, you'll only be able to control a certain percentage of your filmmaking process. But if you understand the tech, you can control all of it, and you're unstoppable. Something like that. It's a really encouraging quote where a successful director says, I want to know everything about it. And that's where you get like the Jim Camerons and the David Finchers and the Michael Manns and the people and the George Lucases. They're so synonymous with these really complicated films and workflows, but it's because they know the whole process. And I always find it interesting when people are like, oh, that's someone else's job. Why would a creative want to relinquish so easily control about anything? Creatives are control freaks, and they shouldn't apologize for that. What we wanted to do is give that creative control back to customers. So Plaster City with Red Rocket cards, and Light Iron with those carts and iPads, and Panavision cameras to mobile dailies, and Frame.io, cloud. It's all about giving the person in charge more control. So Strada is really trying to do the same thing, except we're trying to take it up a notch using AI tech to try to let that be that mechanical advantage that no knowledge or time spent with software could even match. And so I think ultimately that's why we quit our jobs, is to really see if that's possible and true, which we don't know yet, but we're trying.
Pretty fearless, guys. But it's not the first time, is it?
Not the first time.
I mean, from the outside, it looks fearless. I appreciate that. But from the inside, it is terrifying. So fear is the right word. I'm afraid. But we've risked it all. But we've risked it all before. And a mentor of mine a long time ago said, if you're going to bet on anyone, bet on yourself. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's also observing what innovation is going on at the moment and how can we apply that innovation and that change to a business. So whether it was red cameras and the migration from tape to film and tape to digital, how do we build a business around that? Or the increasing internet bandwidth, how do we build a business around that?
So tell us what's next.
For us in the moment, it's around AI. How do we make a business around that in furtherance of this kind of creative control? Cloud-based computing is becoming more economical. It's still expensive, but more economical. Internet bandwidth is getting better. And there's a lot of new technology that's just out there that may not be purpose-built for content creation, but if we can modify it and tweak it a bit and connect pieces, workflow, we actually can take technologies that are built for other industries, apply it to content creation, and now we have a whole new way of helping individuals make content through combining internet plus AI plus automation plus cloud compute, and we hope we can really empower those creatives to be able to do more themselves.
Well, let me summarize and correct me if I'm wrong. So you pioneered first with file-based workflow, then you pioneered with camera to cloud. Now you're bringing AI into it to wrap everything up and see where you can go with that.
Yeah, and I think we're building on all these previous iterations, and I think it even goes back to when you used early versions of Final Cut, even in 1999, not using Steambecs and Moviolas, but using Final Cut
Firewire.
Yeah, so I think it's we're adding all these pieces together, all these innovations, in order to you said it right. It's to really leverage the most to create the most advanced workflow, but we're trying to use the advancement to simplify.
So tell us about Strada.
So if you think about the most complicated technology you own today, I'm probably stealing something Michael would say. The most complicated tool you have today is your iPhone. And that iPhone comes with no instruction manual. It is so simple to use, even though it's so complex and advanced. So in our situation, we're trying to leverage the most advanced technology out there. Large language models, fine-tuning models, automation, the cloud, Wi-Fi encoding technologies. And we're trying to make it as simple as possible for content creators to have more control over the content they're creating. And our vision is to really enable content creators to up-level the quality of their content. So can they make it look better? Can they make it sound better? Can we give them time back in order to spend more time being creative and spend less time dealing with uploads and transfers and transcoding and deliverables, which is just the cost of making content, but it's not the creative part. So we're really about those aspects of enabling content creators to make the best version of to help them realize the best version of their vision.
Well, I'll have to come back in a few months and see where you go with this. It sounds very exciting, and I know it's going to be successful.
Yeah.
As always are.
Thank you. we hope you're right. But the truth is, one thing we're not afraid of, which is a lot of people, is just putting in the work. You got to be willing to put in the work. There's no free lunches. A lot of people come to this town and they're like, what's the secret password? It's like calluses, right? Like that would be the secret password. It hurts, right? I don't know. Not everybody's willing to take those risks and put in that work. But if you are, I always believe that true talent, no matter what discipline you're in, always finds its way to the top. It really does. If you're really talented, you work hard, you're going to find your way to the top. Some people might be able to accelerate the timeline of that. Others get lucky. Others are unlucky. It takes longer time. But if you're really talented, you're not going to go undiscovered. You're not going to not find a place for that talent to be deployed. So I appreciate you saying, I'm sure it'll be successful. We get a lot of that. We receive that. That feels good. But the only way it becomes true is 90 hours a week.
Yeah, well, you have to have that fear to drive you.
That's right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you.